Hi everyone. I'd like to start by introducing today's presenter Brian Coyle, our Chief Commercial Officer at Canton MT. Brian has 25 years of experience in senior sales and marketing management roles in a range of industries and across a number of markets including the US, UK and Europe. Over the last number of years, Brian has worked extensively on the commercialization of products in the SaaS market. I would also like to mention here that we have shared a handout with you. This is our new white paper on 9 ways in which custom machine translation can help e-commerce in 2016. Please feel free to have a read and share it with your clients. And with that, Brian, let's get started. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Pauline. And thank you everybody for joining us today. As Pauline said, what I'm going to do is talk about some of the ways that machine translation, custom machine translation particularly, can be applied in commercial situations, which obviously provide an opportunity to open up new conversations or different conversations with your clients, because many of these applications can really drive a client's bottom line. They apply in different areas of the business, slightly different functions, but will impact on the client's bottom line. So, it should be a way to be able to grab their attention and, as I say, open up a new conversation. So really what we're talking about is custom machine translation as a service, and the bottom line of a business, how it can impact on the bottom line of a business, and particularly, obviously, your client's business. Firstly, let me introduce a little bit about Canton MT. It's a statistical machine translation platform. It's cloud-based. It's a cloud-based solution, obviously, which means it's very scalable, inexpensive to operate. It's a fusion of translation memory and statistical machine translation, and also some post-editing rules. So it provides really the best of kind of all of those technologies in one combined package, which means that you're able to produce really well customized engines for your clients. High speed and high quality translations, that's what we're about, and our vision essentially is to put machine translation into your hands. So to make it really easy and really fast to build and customize an engine, to improve an engine by tuning, and ultimately to deploy an engine. So that's ultimately our vision and our objective. At the moment we have, I'm pleased to say, broken through the 8,000 engine barrier on Canton MT. We now have over 8,000 engines used by our clients on the platform. We've uploaded 163 billion training words, and we have translated 5.2 billion words. So it's, that's obviously huge scale and capacity, and that's obviously part of the service offering of a custom machine translation in the cloud or as a service. So basically there are two themes, I suppose, running through everything we talk about in relation to custom machine translation as a service. The first theme is this: anytime, anywhere, any device. So obviously with SaaS-based service, it's available 24/7. Anybody who's authorized to do so can log in anywhere and can operate the platform from practically any device. So there's a universality there, which I think is of real benefit, and obviously is the way that technology is trending. So Canton MT in that sense is in our custom machine translation as a service, in that sense takes advantage of that. The second theme really is, it's not a new theme necessarily for language service providers or indeed anybody in the industry. it's a theme that's been going around. It's more, more translation. We want it faster, and we want to pay less for it. And in certain applications, custom machine translation can certainly do that. Can really, really help in that regard in terms of boosting productivity and reducing cost. So there are about 8 applications I'm going to talk to you about today. The first 4 are listed here. So the first one is one which is really, really powerful, is auto-usable translation. And in this case, it's fully automated usable translation, which is really, I suppose, the ultimate application for custom machine translation. The second one then is simply the ability to produce faster translations and get faster to the market. And we can give you a little example of how that impacts on the bottom line. More translation of more content. So simply using the power of custom machine translation in the cloud, and the capacity and the speed that provides, means that we can translate more content that wouldn't necessarily be translatable otherwise. And more languages in more markets, because as custom machine translation develops, more languages are being supported. Also, with the 5th application I'm going to talk about really is managing customer returns, reducing customer returns. That impacts on the bottom line, and that's obviously a conversation that you can have with clients. Improved communication and improved service. So simply translating more content and so on can improve customer service. 7th, higher productivity, reduces costs. So just using the machine translation combined with post-editing can obviously provide a significant saving. And finally, preferred language sales. So this is an application example that I'm going to provide around, which is a B2B application. So moving ahead, the first one, as I said, is auto-usable translation. In this case, very much fully automated usable translation. The client spent a long time, it's an e-commerce client, spent a long time developing and training engines, and have incorporated the translation process as a tier 1 application, which means that it is really fundamental to their business mission and the achievement of their business operations. So as a tier 1 e-commerce application, it has to have things like 99.999% reliability, disaster recovery built in, and so on. But with this particular client, they have published, a huge volume of words, and by having really highly customized engines, have published directly to the web. Not only that, but the source of the content that they're translating is from a variety of users who log in and use their platform. So really and truly, it's a really hands-off approach for this e-commerce company. Users can log in and their translation and their content, their product listings and so on get translated automatically and published directly to the web. It's kind of a little bit ridiculous to talk about the post-editing days that they've saved, but it's on the scale of 500,000 post-editing days. But really and truly, obviously, this volume of content simply wouldn't have been translatable were it not fully automated. So that is the first really cool application for custom machine translation as a service. It's to start talking to e-commerce providers about providing this kind of service for them, because it is now it's being done and it's achievable. And I consider it really, really exciting. The second one then, application, is faster translation. So one of the benefits of custom machine translation, of course, in the cloud is that it's insanely fast. It's very fast to build, customize, and deploy engines. In this particular case study, the client needed 3 languages to be rolled out in 28 days, and another 2 languages in 15 days, and it's a total of 300,000 words. They have quoted us an increase in post-editing productivity of between 30 and 60%, and the reason that's a range of productivity increases because it depended on the language. I think there are Scandinavian languages, and Danish I think was particularly difficult, or more difficult than others. So the result was, though, if you think about it, that they were able to kick sales off in these new markets, 5 new markets, in 43 days. So they obviously, that's 43 days lost, 43 days that they were able to get to market. So really rapid rollout, and they were absolutely delighted with the performance and the saving in productivity. Thirdly, more translation, more sales. So this is another application. It's an e-commerce application, although it could apply really to any organization that has a significant back catalog of product in their home native or their domestic language, and they can now consider using custom machine translation as a means to translate the back catalog, to take it to market in a number of languages, and to really sweat that asset, because that's what it is. A back catalog is an asset, and all they need to do really is to get it in front of people in their preferred language. So take, for instance, this example where you have a back catalog with 20,000 SKU, stock keeping units, at an average value of €70 each and an average gross margin of 40%. It's a 4 million word translation. It can be done in 15 languages over a course of 12 months, and it would result in exposure of about 350 million customers, new customers. A return is generated obviously by catalog sales, and if 15% of the products sold, their entire investment would be recovered in 12 months. So that's obviously a really exciting opportunity for many companies who have back catalogs or lists and lists of products which they otherwise couldn't literally afford to translate. These products as well, they might necessarily be market-leading products in the domestic market, but of course they could actually generate sales in new markets. Obviously, as custom machine translation develops, one of the things that is an ongoing improvement is the number of languages that are supported by custom machine translation providers. In the case of Canton MT, we 760 language pairs. So what that means is, more languages are available. It now includes double byte languages. Long tail languages can be exploited. Regional languages can be exploited, and so on. And many of our engines can be built as bidirectional engines. So just to give you an example here, if we take the 5 markets listed here, China, India, Indonesia, Nigeria, and the Philippines, this chart forecasts the median income in US dollars per household, and also the real growth over the period 2015 to 2030. So you can see here, just these 5 markets alone, there's a population of about 3 billion people, where essentially the median income is growing at between 40 and 100% over the next 15 years. So that's where many of your clients need to or will want to start to focus their efforts, their globalization efforts. So that obviously that's an opportunity that custom machine translation can deliver. The next one then is another application, which is an e-commerce application, and it's about essentially reducing product returns. So the first sentence, first line here, e-commerce returns range from about 0.2% of sales to 30% of sales. It's a large range, but again, it's an official source from Internet Retailer magazine. If you assume that a particular site has 100 million euro of annual sales and they have a 10% return rate, that's 10% in lost revenues and 10 million in lost revenue, plus they have the handling costs on top of that. So if we were able to translate more content more accurately in more preferred languages, and we know that 43% of customers prefer to buy products in their own language. That should lead to reduced buyer confusion and reduced errors, buying errors. In the case of KantanMT, we have technology which we call NER technology, which localizes weights, sizes, and measures, and so on. So again, an intelligent application of good customized machine translation engines can significantly help reduce buyer confusion and lead to reduced returns. So a simple calculation of 10% reduction in returns would recapture €1 million in revenue and obviously save the handling costs as well. So again, by using and applying custom machine translation engines sensibly across more languages, it can help reduce e-commerce customer returns. Higher productivity, reduced costs. This is the old story about using custom machine translation to improve translation productivity. This again is a little bit of a kind of an extreme example, but I'll give it to you anyway. I thought it was interesting. So custom machine translation essentially enables really, really high volume translation, high volumes of words. So in one 24-hour period on Canton MT, we translated 135 million words. And just to give you an example, that's the equivalent of 54,000 translator days, or in one 8-hour period, 18,000 human translator days, which could be a saving of around about 5.3 million euro. So an extraordinary figure, and kind of ridiculous, as I say, because in reality that volume of words simply couldn't be translated by humans at an economic rate or at an economic cost. But it just gives you an idea of the power of custom machine translation and how it's really, really useful to start looking for opportunities amongst your clients for those high volumes that previously were considered too costly, too expensive to translate. The next example then is using custom machine translation to improve self-service and online service. So essentially, the thinking is that if you provide accurate translation of customer self-service features, of instant chat, and even of community fora, because a lot of, as you know, in technology markets and so on, technology companies will have quite significant communities that are set up with experts to provide solutions to technical problems. But the problem is, of course, is that many users can't access that information, that knowledge, because it's not in their preferred language, or it's not even in a language that they understand. So by using custom machine translation to translate self-service, to translate community fora, and to translate instant chat, the theory is that you can divert calls from very expensive call centers. So just to give you an example again of how that you might engage a client with that kind of conversation, here's an example of a 365-day call center processing 500 calls a day at an average cost of €10 per call, and simply by diverting 15% of calls through providing better translated self-service, that would save up to €270,000 per annum for your client. So, that is obviously a significant saving. So again, custom machine translation, intelligent application can be used to save clients money on calls on their call center if you have call center clients. Finally, the final application, I think it is the final one. This is an example of a situation where custom machine translation can be used for B2B sales organizations. So essentially, if you have companies like our clients, such as a global consulting firm, very often they will specialize in 3 or 4 specific industry verticals. And very often, a lot of their knowledge that they use and that they develop internally is vertical specific, but is developed in 1 or more of their markets. So it needs to be shared throughout the organization. And also, very often they're competing for tenders in different international markets. So by developing their own custom machine translation engines, which are vertical specific, it gives them an opportunity to very quickly translate requests for proposals, bids and tenders, and so on, and reach quicker go or no-go decisions, save time. Also, they can share knowledge, more knowledge, and share knowledge much faster, and use cross-company knowledge translated to improve their sales proposals, and so on and so forth. So here's an example, just again with a global consulting firm specializing in 3 or 4 industries. They're able to have set up their own internal translation service for RFP documentation in six languages, and it gave them exposure to up to 200 million euros worth of new potential business. So, you know, again, a smart application of custom machine translation very quickly gave them a really good head start in their globalization efforts. So that's it from me on the different applications. There's about 8 there, which I hope you found interesting and informative. I hope it's given you some food for thought as well, maybe the ability to introduce some new conversations with your clients. And indeed, you know, just my last final slide here is just to introduce the idea, obviously, of when you're having these kinds of conversations, the types of decision makers and influencers that you need to speak to. Because, you know, if you're trying to talk to your head of localization or your head of translation, the conversation might get very run into a cul-de-sac very quickly. So the challenge, I guess, with these kinds of applications is to engage decision makers who are feeling the pain, and that's people like the heads of marketing and sales, even heads of operations, call center managers, heads of customer service, heads of globalization, international business development, and of course the guy who feels everybody's pain is the head of finance, because he's the guy who is all the time looking to reduce costs and indeed improve the performance of the business from a financial perspective. So with that, I think that's the end of my presentation, which I hope you've enjoyed. I'll hand back to Polly now, who will help you with some questions.
Thanks, Brian. That was a really insightful presentation. Thank you. We'd like to ask everyone to remain online as we open the floor for a question and answer session. And joining us today for this part of the webinar will be Louise Mahalti. She's our technical project manager. And if you have any technical questions, it'll be taken up by her. Thanks. And you can also post your questions in the chat pane that is located at the bottom of the control panel. Or you can also post it to Twitter using the hashtag KantanWebinar. Let's have a look at the questions here. Right, we already have a question. Brian, this is a question. As a language service provider, what sort of help and client support can we expect from KantanMT if we decide to enter into a partnership?
Oh, okay. Well, with KantanMT, part of our part of our business model really is to engage with our LSP partners in joint activity, joint marketing activity. So that includes things like indeed joint webinars, case studies, development of case studies, joint case studies, joint presentations at exhibitions, shows and conferences, and so on. So, you know, we're very much engaged doing that at the moment with our LSP partners, and that's something that we're obviously happy to continue. I suppose the other thing that partnership benefit that we would provide at Canton MT would be training, essentially. So very important that LSP partners get the very, very best out of the platform for themselves and for their clients. So, you know, training is very, very important, and we provide full training. And in fact, in 2016, we will be looking to introduce a certification program so that our LSP partners can become certified on Canton MT. And of course, also we have a professional services team which is on hand to, you know, help our LSP partners with any kind of, you know, technical issues around engine customization, engine tuning, or engine deployment.
Perfect. Thanks, Brian. We have the next question. The question goes, would auto-usable translation, which I think you mentioned in the presentation today, not make our service as an LSP useless to our clients? What's our benefit?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the core service offering of the language service provider in the case of fully automated usable translation would be around providing a professional service in continuing to manage the client's translation memories and glossaries and term bases and so on and so forth, but also very, very importantly, providing a really professional service in building, customizing and deploying engines on behalf of the client. Because remember, there is a level of skill, knowledge and expertise required, which the LSP is really best placed to do in order to, you know, get the very, very best out of the client's translation memory assets, as well as the Canton MT engines, and as well as that, you know, once the engines are built and deployed, very often, and in the case of our fully automated usable translation client, the engines are retrained very frequently. So there's an ongoing need to maintain and retune and retrain the engines to make sure that they're absolutely at their best. So fully automated usable translation by no means means that the language service providers are out of the picture. Quite the opposite, in fact. Okay.
All right, thanks, Brian. The next question goes like this. From a revenue perspective, would you say it makes more sense if we reuse the MT engines for different clients in the same domain?
Okay. Well, there's a couple of issues there. I would say, first thing is data confidentiality. I mean, at Canton MT, we do not reuse or repurpose or redistribute our clients' information, and that's a promise. So that's Canton MT promise. It's part of our business model also. So data confidentiality is really important. So you would need, if you were to do that, obviously you would need some form of agreement from your clients. The other thing is that even with that, you know, that very often a customized engine can provide a degree of translation that is fluent and in the style of a particular client or a particular client in a particular industry. So that may not be transferable even if it went to another client in another industry. You know, very often engines are customized using glossaries and term bases and so on and so forth. So it would be difficult to use that to use that for two clients' glossaries, I think, in one engine. So I'm not sure how that would really pan out. I don't think that's necessarily something I would recommend.
Great. Thanks, Brian. The next question, probably, Louise, you'd have more expertise on this. The question goes, we work exclusively with translation in the Asian market. Would KantanMT engines be able to handle them?
Yes, thanks, Palumi, for that. We have a number of clients that work into Asian languages, so I would have no hesitation in recommending KantanMT for that job. I'm thinking especially for Chinese and in some cases Japanese, we perform extremely well. In one particular example I can think of, we have a Chinese engine with a blue score in the 80% mark, or 85% I think. So certainly with Chinese, it's performing extremely well. Likewise, Japanese, we have had great success stories with it, and a lot of our clients are using it for Asian languages. I would say, as a general, for all languages, we can handle pretty much anything as long as your data is in the right order and as long as you have plenty of it. That said, we also have stock engines in most Asian languages as well. So if you check out the stock engine list on our website, you'll be able to see potential sources of additional content. But yeah, it's the best way is just to give it a go and have a test and load in some files and see what the content is like. So that I would absolutely recommend that for KantanMT.
Perfect, thank you so much. We really have time for one or two more questions, and we have one more question here. Brian, maybe after this you'd like to wrap up. I'm sorry.
No.
No, doesn't look like we have a question right
no
now.
Problem.
Sorry,
no
this
problem.
was the last question.
No problem. Okay. All right. Okay, folks.
All right, then.
So there will be a recording of the webinar. Is that right, Paula? Yeah?
Yes, there'll be a recording of the webinar, and we will send this to you